It's time for another episode of Tucson Means Business, featuring Tucson's top entrepreneurs and leaders in the business world. And now your host, Mark Bishop.
And welcome, everybody, to another Tucson Means Business. And does it ever, even in this rough time we're going through of this COVID pandemic, a lot of hard-working business people out there hanging on. Others are excelling. Others are in the middle of that. But full credit to you, and well done. Keep it going. Don't give up, whatever you do. And today's show is about being successful. A couple of local business people doing very, very well during the pandemic. So I wanted to find out why. What are they doing? What do they do? How can they help people? How can they help you, maybe? And, of course, this show, Tucson Means Business, is sponsored by the 49ers Golf and Country Club out there on Tanque Verde. People say to me, how could you be playing golf during the pandemic and all that? Well, you need to understand that there are separations between two people in a golf cart. And it has been solo people in a golf cart, but now there's two. The restaurant component of it is all, spread apart like you're supposed to do. It's sanitized every single day. Staff wear gloves and so on, and masks and eye thingo protectors. I mean, they're doing everything they're supposed to do, but it is a business and it has to survive. It has to go on. And now is the time of year, believe it or not, booked out again they are with visitors from all across the country that love to come here during this time of year to our lovely Tucson. Or Tucson, as some of them call it. God love them. I'd like to welcome Cindy Sheller. She is a recognized expert in navigating the healthcare system and has had more than 25 years' experience. She's worked in the hospital system, assisted living, memory care, and hospice, and is a Reiki master and public speaker. Welcome to Tucson Means Business, Sydney.
Thank you, Mark. It's awesome to be here.
Lovely to have you. And the other good-looking fella is National Sales Training International Keynote speaker and an award-winning sales coaching organization and financial services, retail, manufacturing, professional services industry. He's done it all. And his name is Don Zavis. Welcome, Don.
Thank you so much.
With a letter like Z. I guess you were always last on the roll call at school.
I was always in the back right-hand corner.
All right, we're going to have some fun today. How are you both, okay?
Very well, thank you.
You're looking good.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Cindy, let's start with you. In 2015, you left the corporate world to become an entrepreneur, gutsy, and bring a caring senior service to the Tucson and Southern Arizona communities. Where were you in the corporate world? What were you doing at that time?
I was running a couple offices for a national home care organization. I had been there for 6 years, and prior to that, I had been running one in Los Angeles. And I just was ready for a change. And I swore I'd never open my own agency, not for $1 million. And then I changed my mind.
And it didn't take $1 million.
And it didn't take $1 million. And here I sit today, and it's been an interesting journey going from the corporate world to being an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Learned a lot. And luckily, I had enough Band-Aids to survive the bumps in the road.
So it had to be something at that particular time that literally got you to do it. Make the decision and go ahead and do it.
I often give credit. There's an organization called eWomen Network, and every time I would go to their international conference, I would meet these amazing women, and they would say, Cindy, why are you still in the corporate world? You need to own your own business. You are the expert. So I think once I accepted the fact that I was an expert, it was much easier to make that jump.
All right. So, to this day, you thank your friends, huh?
I do think you can't get far without them.
You can't. Caring Senior Service, it's a non-medical home health care agency serving the Tucson and surrounding area communities, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You're famous for using great care method, right?
Correct.
You are very caring about, and your staff too, from what I hear. You ensure that seniors receive the very best senior home care. Now, needless to say, there's been plenty of bad press.
Oh, yeah.
The news, online, whatever you want to do. And it ain't fake news, this particular stuff.
Right.
It's such a shame. I get very upset when I see these poor old people, how they're treated and what they've been through, and my mum, I mean, I was the only son, and my dad died in the war, so there was just mum and I. And boy, you know, as a son, and if your mum is going through that sort of thing, Don, I tell you, I'd be in there with a crowbar fast as you can name it. So what did you set out to do to make sure this wasn't going to be a Cindy Sheller deal?
Well, you know, our Great Care method makes sure that we have active involvement, that we have quality caregivers, that we have everything in line to be successful and to coach our caregivers to excellence. Part of the way we do that is we do weekly home visits with all of our clients. So one of my managers is actually going in the home to make sure that their care plan is up to date, to make sure that the caregivers are wearing their proper attire, and just to check to see how everybody's doing. I, like you, Mark, get very upset when I hear about poor care. And so our goal is to make sure that every client that we have can age in place with grace and dignity.
So when someone talks about giving the seniors the control needed to live safely, what does that look like?
I think a big part of it is that they have an active involvement. They get to say what they want, when they want it, how they want it. So by giving back seniors control, because, you know, if your mom, you know, if you said, Mom, I need you to take your pill at 1 o'clock. And she says, I don't want to. And you say, no, you have to take it at 1 o'clock.
I don't want to.
I don't want to. So those things that you can give them the flexibility to do, it's like asking somebody to take a shower. I don't want to take a shower today. Well, did you take one last week or did you take one yesterday? If she took one yesterday, so you don't need to take one today. So it's all very flexible, but it's giving. You know, just because we get old doesn't mean we don't have a voice or a brain.
No, that's right. But wouldn't there be that component where, for their own good, you're trying to make them take that shower?
Okay, well, I admit there is a lot of nudging that goes on.
Nudging?
Nudging. Like, come on, this is a really great idea. Let's go to the market, you know.
Do you use nudging, Don, in your world?
We refer to it as incentivization.
Okay, all right. Listen, don't eat that microphone, will you? It's one of the young ones I've got. Yep. Is it easy or hard to give overall the resident families peace of mind, Cindy, in your world?
Well, I think having somebody in the home and having a management team gives them peace of mind, because truly we're there when the family can't be there. And so that active engagement with the family and the client, that helps them a lot. We have a lot of families that like to travel, although thank you, COVID, none of us have traveled that much recently.
No.
But when we do, we're there for them.
They must be terribly concerned, the more mature people, the ones you look after. They must be scared stiff.
Well, we have a lot of protocols in place. So every single one of our care staff receive a text an hour before their shift, and they have to check off if they have any signs or symptoms of illness. If they do, we pull them from the shift, we restaff it, which doesn't always make the client happy because they like who they like.
Yeah.
But it's for their safety.
Right.
And so if they're exposed to anybody, we pull them off, we quarantine them. So we also screen our clients when we go into the home to make sure they're feeling okay. And they all have their appropriate personal protection equipment that we supply them. And so it is, I think the hardest thing right now is people really want to go out. They're tired of being at home.
Yeah, it's a pressure, isn't it? It's a psychological pressure of being locked up. Imagine how a criminal feels.
Yeah.
In a small, concrete, blessed thing. That's what they say. They go nuts. Look, Caring Senior Service, your company, you work with community partners to ensure the health and safety, of your clients. In your world, Cindy, who would be these community partners?
So our community partners are people like skilled home health agencies, hospice agencies, hospitals, because when they're transitioning from a hospital or a skilled nursing facility and they need to go home, the whole idea is that there's no readmission. So we try to bolster that up for them. And other community partners can be assisted living, independent living, memory care. So sometimes people live in a community, and although they're in a community, maybe they've had a fall, and the executive director is terrified she's going to fall again.
Right.
And they'll call us and say, Cindy, can you send us somebody for tonight so she doesn't fall? And so that's how we work with some of our community partners.
Well, so how are families impacted when caring for their loved ones without help? How do they get on?
You know, it can present financial crisis, because if you're caring for your mom, and even if you're trying to work at home, it's disruptive, or you're scheduling, it's just very, very stressful. So we have a client right now whose daughter works from home, and her husband had to work from home, and his mom lives there. And so we care for his mom while they're both introspectively doing their jobs, so that they can focus on what they need to focus on. And then we can provide the care or the companionship that's needed.
We're going to talk to you a little bit later on about the expansion. Very exciting for you. You've worked very hard since you started some years back. And against all odds, it's a very competitive industry. I'm not saying that all that are in the industry do the right thing, or, could even be considered as competition, because they can't. But nevertheless, it's still a competitive industry, and you have done exceptionally well. So there must be something you're doing right. Don, do you hail from these neck of the woods or out of state?
Actually, out of state.
Bloomfield
Hills,
where's
Michigan.
originally? Where'd you grow up?
Bloomfield Hills, Michigan.
Michigan, boy.
Michigan, a little outside of the Detroit area in Oakland County.
Lots of snow, huh?
That's why I'm here in Tucson.
And I nearly worked once in a place called Cadillac. You know that?
Actually, I had a summer home in Tustin, which was actually about 12 miles south of Cadillac. So you were right there.
There you go.
My summer house was right there.
Well, if I wanted to work there, I would have been divorced, so that was the end of that.
It is a challenge to live in northern Michigan. You have to be cut from a certain ilk.
Well, I wouldn't know. I was just a dumb Aussie, but my wife, of course, is from Tucson. She's a Tucsonan, and she knows different states and the weather across America, having worked with Dun & Bradstreet and other companies from a point of view of traveling across the states. So, she knew, and she's right. She's always right, my wife, Aren't you, honey? Now, share with us about your start in the working world, buddy, and how you came to be doing what you do now, because you're one of the best in the business.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. I have been an entrepreneur, and I believe that an entrepreneur is what you are, not what you do. Mm-hmm. Did the normal stuff. You cut the lawn, just shovel snow. And at 19 years old, I got out of high school, went to a week and a half of college, realizing that week and a half college isn't for me. And at that time, I was a lead guitar player in a heavy metal band.
Oh, and so do we know them? Should we know them?
Well,
only in your garage, right?
Well, no, actually, we had some fame in the Midwest.
Did you
Michigan.
really?
Yeah, in fact,
well, give us the name.
Well, the name of our band was Zavis. That was our last name. It was
Zavis.
interesting that we were Zavis before Van Halen was Van Halen, whereas the lead guitar player, myself, and my brother, the drummer.
Okay.
So we kind of I like to say we cut the cloth for them to follow.
Fair enough.
But I realized that I loved entrepreneurship, loved business. We opened up our first music store, so we sold guitars and amps and drums.
Oh,
and
that was right up
rigs.
here. That's your wheelhouse.
Oh, absolutely. It was very much what we were used to, and I was surrounded by my friends, the things that we loved. Got to talk about that. We got it into 4 stores throughout the Metro Detroit area. Mm-hmm. Sold those. And being the serial entrepreneur, bought and sold 23 different businesses.
Wow.
In virtually every imaginable industry. And then got into sales training shortly thereafter.
Well, lead guitar for a band. What was it, a Fender?
Actually, it was a Gibson Les Paul.
A Gibson, right, okay.
And a Marshall Stack.
So when did you learn guitar? Very young?
When I was 5.
Wow.
Yeah, started when I was 5. And
that is young.
Yeah, just for some reason, my parents kind of were of the type of parents at the time, which allowed my brother and I to pursue anything that we wanted. So if you wanted to try, this, they would stand behind us.
Well, that's great. They were good parents, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I gravitated towards the guitar. My brother gravitated towards the drums.
That house must have been noisy sometimes.
It's interesting, and it was. And God bless my parents. And I've often said this. We're Sicilian, so we're a tight family to start with. And my mom always was extremely supportive of having the band play at our house. She always had her ideology was better be here than out roaming the streets.
Oh,
Not that we ever really roamed the streets.
Well, were you in the garage or a spare room?
We were
in the
downstairs,
house?
actually, in the basement.
Oh, okay, in the basement.
And my family very supportively supported it with the sound deadening types of stuff, the baffling that you have here.
Cool.
And we did that for the longest of times, and then eventually sold out of the music business, and then bought and sold businesses after that.
And what did your brother do? He went on to do what?
Well, we actually, one of the companies that we owned was Welton Rubber. So if you go to Madison Heights, Michigan, to this very day, you're going to go to Welton Rubber, and that was one of our company businesses, one of our family businesses, and my brother had that and ran that. And so just recently we sold it 3 months ago. He still stayed on for the transition, but yeah.
Well, did you have fun being in the band together?
Oh, I loved it. It's
what was it? A 4-piece, 5-piece? What?
Well, 4-piece.
4-piece.
Yeah. So we had two guitar players, drums, and bass player.
Local dance halls and so on. School gigs.
We paid up to 5,000 person events. So when we would do a lot of the like if your city had an expo or like a carnival or something like that, we would come in and we would do that. But what we didn't make up for in talent, we made up for in explosions and lights. So I figured
you were in a fixed band.
Oh yeah, I figured that we weren't going to be good, but we were damn well going to be entertaining. So anything under their brother. So we did that for a long time. And yeah, I don't have any like hard luck stories of my adolescence. It was never like, I never had a girlfriend. My life sucked.
No, come on, you're in a band. You had plenty of what they call them again? Groupies.
Well, no. Mrs. Zavis and I have been together since she was 14 and I was 18. So she clung to me.
Oh, my God. That's a long time, isn't it? Well, and what's her name?
Janet.
Janet. Hi, Janet. Yes. Hope you're well.
Yeah. I lovingly refer to as Mrs. Zavis. So.
Yes, there you go. So, Cindy, the guy went as 1.5 weeks or something or other to college. Mm-hmm. Who was the other dude that dropped out and became a billionaire? Well, there's some, I just can't think. It wasn't Zuckerberg, was it?
Well, he was at Harvard. I don't know if he ever completed, though.
There was somebody else. But what I'm getting at is she still managed to go and bloody profit with 23 businesses from nothing. Who taught you the business world? You
know what? That was my... I think the business world taught me the business. I have a story which will take about 4 minutes. If
you got it.
I think it would be a great illustration of that.
But I'm cutting you off at 4.
Well, this is essentially how the ideology of the week and a half.
Well, I want people to listen to this who are entrepreneurs at heart, need some motivation, and nobody believes in what they want to do. Okay.
Well, so this was a great example. So now I'm in class. I'm a week and a half. I'm in actually business management class, and he was going through a summary of cash flows. So what the instructor was talking about is how to allocate money. So you're starting your business and X amount for this and X amount for this and X amount for this and X amount for this. And I kiddingly said, well, where is your slush fund? And he said, what do you mean slush fund? I said, well, the money you go to pay off politicians to get stuff done.
No.
No, well, hold on. Now here's the scenario, though. I had just opened my first business, had it stocked, all the musical equipment was there. We couldn't get our certificate of occupancy, right? There was one person that happened to be in Dearborn Heights, Michigan, and we couldn't get him to come in for 2 months. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, that's ridiculous. How should it take so long to get a certificate of occupancy? So I called the city department necessary, and they said 2 months. And I said, well, what if I call the mayor? And they said, okay, well, that's fine. You can do that. And I said, well, when can I get an appointment with the mayor? And they said 3 months. And I said, well, there's got to be something better than that. And this is what the mayor's aide said. They said, well, actually, the mayor's having a fundraiser this evening for $250 a plate. Now, keep in mind, this is like 1981 when $250 was a lot,
That's
right?
a lot of biggies, yeah.
Right? So he's having a fundraiser tonight for $250 a plate. And if you go there, I'm sure that you could talk to him for a couple minutes. Sure enough, I'm there at 3 o'clock the next day. I had my certificate of occupancy. That guy came out first thing in the morning. I had it in my hand. Now, that was the ideology I was coming from. My position was, you're not really giving these people the legitimacy of the circumstances. And that's when they said, well, Mr. Zavis, maybe we'll go talk to the dean of students. And the dean of students suggested that maybe college wasn't for me. And I agreed with them. Interestingly enough, the dean of students actually applied to one of my companies that I owned for a job 5 years later.
Isn't that?
And he walked in the door, he looked at me and he goes, I'm not getting this job, am I? And I said, no, you're not. But we sat down and had an hour conversation and had, drank some coffee and had a great conversation. I ended up helping him get a job with somebody else that I knew.
You're a natural born. You got the gift of the gab.
I have my moments.
No doubt this gave you tremendous experience in the business
Absolutely,
world.
Yeah. With a lot of failures.
Yeah, hey, you can't have success without failures.
Sure.
And, it must have given you a vital insight into the sales process because, mate, even between radio and television gigs all my life, I've had other careers, but it all revolved around sales and marketing.
Absolutely.
And the reality is nothing happens in a day, period, on the globe without a sale.
Nothing happens until somebody sells something.
So for that matter, salespeople themselves, in all the businesses you had, what you came across, what you found, how do you find the attitude of training sales today in this very high-tech world?
Well, a lot of them are really focused on product knowledge, what you know, and, as soon as you learn a lot of things, your first inclination is you want to tell it, right? So if, you go to a company and you learn a lot about your widgets, and the first thing you're so excited about your widgets, I want to tell the world, right? Well, they don't care about you. They care about themselves. The only concerns that are legitimate are their concerns. So, I sit down with everybody. How are you hoping I can help you? I don't know if I can, but I'm willing to try. How are you hoping I can help you? And when you give that environment that's open to listening, and open to, communication, because I'll tell people at the end of an hour, I'm leaving. And one of two things is going to happen. Either we're going to do business together, and this is what it looks like, or we're not going to do business together, and I'm going to say, thank you very much, goodbye. Right? But I'm more than willing to let you go back to your bad environment.
Well, that's it. You're very upfront about it, because that's really what it is. It's a negotiation between A and B.
Absolutely.
If B can help A and or B's got for you what A might want, there's not a case here of me trying to outsell you.
No.
I'm sharing with you what might help you, for God's sake.
And I think that's a differentiation between professional salespeople. I will frequently tell my clients, and I really adopt a posture that no one likes to be sold, yet everyone likes to buy. And I'm okay. I mean, either I'm eating steak tonight no matter what. I mean, I'd love for you to be my client, but I'm okay if you're not. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. You get to go back to whatever you had before.
Well, I could be nasty there and say, or put a spanner in the works. Well, you're eating steak tonight? I can't afford that. Get out of here. I don't want your services.
That's why you take sales training.
Listen, you're now responsible for the sales development of over 3,000 sales professionals. Are they all, diverse in their careers?
We actually, interestingly enough, I had an intern. And I had this idea that I wanted her to go through this was probably 4 years ago. I wanted her to go through every client that we've ever touched, been involved with, anything like that, and just kind of try to classify how many different industries. We actually got 301 different industries.
Well, I was going to ask you, because one of the things that I did on my research, I found out that you had trained or coached over $1 billion of revenue production. Now, how does one get to calculate that sort of money?
The easiest way is when they come back and tell you. Normally what I hear, and it's interesting because I'll be working with a sales team or working with a company or an organization, and what I hear a lot is, oh my God, we got our biggest client ever. Right, we just closed XYZ company for $39 million. So what we started doing is we started to gauge. We're very strong in surveys. We're very strong in getting a sense of the success. And my clients generally double or triple their business. Now that's not a guarantee, right? Some people do more, some people do less, but that's kind of an average to go with. So I will ask them, okay, how much of this can you attribute to us? And we've kind of kept that running total over the years. And actually about 3 years ago, we just ended up at $1 billion. It's kind of like when you go to McDonald's and it says over $1 billion served. Well, if you go back to McDonald's 20 years ago, it said, 927
million.
Right.
I remember that. Okay.
Right now, it's over $1 billion. So we just kind of 3 years ago said it was over.
So your actual practice yourself, your own learning, was focused on educational workshops, private one-on-one sales coaching, training, and keynote speaking.
Yes.
Do you do much of that?
Well, we don't now in all things pandemic. Historically, beyond that, generally 2 or 3 a month was standard.
Right. And you yourself on the speaking thing, where do you go to do that? Do you travel a bit?
Oh, absolutely. I could be in front of the CPA Association of America at Caesar's Palace, and then I did a thing for a group of plastic surgeons in Orlando, Florida.
That's fabulous.
I mean, it goes all. Again, I think it's
I'd
interesting.
love to do that, Cindy. I really would.
Well, and I tell you, it really doesn't suck. So that part does.
And they pay you well, don't they?
Handsomely. The nice thing about it, though, I think I shared with you, my wife's got some health challenges. Prior to this, and they've really kicked up in the last couple of years, but prior to that, we would be taking 2 or 3 vacations a month. And what would normally happen would be, I'd fly out on a Monday, where we would just be tourists. Tuesday would be the expo or the convention would start, whatever. I would do my keynote my keynote speech on Wednesday. Then then Thursday I would have to go back in the expo space, and they would trot you around like the prize poodle. And then Friday we'd hang out and be we would be tourists again. That was really good. I mean, again, that don't suck.
No, I'd like that idea. That would be good. Well, you must be doing something right, Don. I hear you're ranked, top 5% of sales trainers and coaches nationwide.
Yes.
That's a pretty good effort, mate. We'll come back and talk to you in a sec on what you address in your coaching and all of that, because I want to come back to Sydney. First of all, though, I want to let our listeners know, thanks to 49ers Golf and Country Club, who are sponsors and my sponsor of Tucson Means Business, and have been so now for some time. Very loyal and a wonderful club, which I'm a member of because I love my golf. But they go, the best of their ability to service everybody. And don't forget, Lisa's still doing her classes. You can still do all of that. That's done outdoors. And I know, because as we're teeing off, they're having a ball. And it's quite unusual, I can assure you. But all that's happening as well. But go to the site, 49ers Golf and Country Club, up there on Tanca Verde past the school. And we're going to take a short break as I have a little chat with their director of golf. This is Casey. Well, I hope you're enjoying this episode of Tucson Means Business. And, of course, we're very grateful and very proud to have as our sponsor the 49ers Golf and Country Club, a icon tradition here in wonderful Tucson, Arizona. And my particular guest today from the 49ers is the Director of Membership and Tournaments. And his name is Casey Polivchak. Hi, Casey.
Hey, Mark. How's it going today?
It's going well. Thank you very much. I want to talk about memberships. A lot of talk about golf clubs going down and people not playing again, and we're increasing. What's happening there?
The club over the last 7 years has just really made a nice big increase in membership. It's been steady, but if you look at our numbers, year over year, we're definitely on the climb.
Is there anything specific that you can point the finger at for that, do you think?
Yes, absolutely. We've got a new owner, and he came in and he's just revitalized the club. The club was on the verge of going bankrupt or closing when the new owner stepped in, and he's just continued to invest in the club, the facilities, the golf course, the restaurant, and he's just been a blessing for the neighborhood, the community, but definitely the members of 49er Country Club.
Well, it's quite unique. It's a beautiful course with trees everywhere for shade. And of course, a lot of people think in the desert. I mean, this particular show goes all over the place, so you never know who's going to hear it, or which country for that matter. But should they be visiting Arizona, and I've heard a lot about the 49ers Golf and Country Club. It's easy to find. It's on Tanca Verde Road, heading east out of town. Anybody can point that way. Your GPS can get it, not a problem. It's about 12,000, and you can see it because of the entry gates. Very nice entry gates there, and you'll see the club on your left, which is the Rincon Mountain Grill, as you go into the actual golf club, and then you'll find the pro shop and so on. So it's easy to find from that point of view. What would you say to visitors? We do have a lot of visitors, don't we, from the Midwest, from the North, the colder climates and so on, as we call friendly our snowbirds. Mm-hmm. Yep. What would you say to them about if they haven't been to the 49ers yet?
Okay, so 49er, I would liken it to a Midwestern-style golf course because of the tree-lined fairways. When we get our snowbirds in, if they're coming out for a golf trip, a lot of times I recommend they come play 49er if it's a warm-up round, if they haven't played for, a couple months because of the snow on the ground. The thing about it is it's tucked into the corner of the mountains out there. That's what Rincon means.
All right.
In the corner. But the golf course is, it's more traditional tree-lined fairways, elevated tees, elevated greens. It's a great golf course to play. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to, have a bunch of huge forced carryovers, desert and cactus and, It's
not what one thinks.
No, it's not.
For the
But
desert, yeah.
You got to keep it straight. It'll challenge you that way.
You got to keep it straight. And of course, if if it talks your cork at the moment, simply go to the 49ers website, which is
49ercc.com. That's spelled out FORTYNINERCC.com.
There you go. Okay, so do that. There's some lovely photographs, great stories to look at, and it'll give you everything about the club. You can't fail. All right? We're going to be back with Casey another time. You're listening to Tucson Means Business. Okay, now, thanks, Casey. That was great. Here, families impacted when caring for their loved ones. We talked about that. What about your expansion now, Cindy? You've done exceptionally well. Okay, why have you been so successful that you can expand? And did you have to expand?
Well, I think in my business, it's all about relationships, and that's really been the key to our growth. And it's about trust. People trust me personally. They trust my agency director, who has been in this business for a really long time. And expansion is necessary in order to serve the number of clients that we're serving. So we did open another office on the northwest side of town on Oracle Road because, as you know, asking somebody to drive from Oro Valley to Tanque Verde is like asking somebody to drive from Dallas to San Antonio.
Yeah, that is hard, isn't it?
They don't want to do it.
I never go over there, but I have to.
They don't want to. So, that was necessary to serve our clients and our field staff in the Northwest side. In 2021, we will be expanding again in a major city. And I will let you know, Mark, when I decide which one it's going to be.
No, hang on. You're becoming a capitalist here. What's the deal? You're going to another city?
Me, a capitalist?
I can't
believe you would say such a thing.
Let me understand something. I've got this from different business people over, 3 years of shows and on air here. Here's the deal. It's so spread out, Tucson, right? And never mind going down to Sierra Vista and, Green Valley. I would think that you would want to expand here more.
Well, we have lots of plans, Mark, and I'm just going to tease you out. I'm just going to tease you out, but we may or may not be going into another state in the first quarter of next year. But truly, the success has been, again, just the relationships we've had, the quality of care we've been able to provide, and just shouting out to my management team. They are phenomenal. We wouldn't be here today without our agency.
Well, I was going to ask you, listen, let me ask you this. Are you lucky that you were, or maybe you were just smart in choosing at the very beginning the right people, or they came your way? Because yours is very much a people-oriented business, isn't it?
It is. And
how do you get them when there's so much else out there, competition?
A lot of it's culture. It's not just a job in my company. You have to truly have compassion and be passionate about providing care to others. And really, I loved what you said, because it's really about, I can give you 1,000 solutions, but if I don't listen to how the problem's impacting the client and the family, then the solution I may just blurt out isn't the one that's foremost, that's necessary. So it's really about, finding out what the core problem is. We do specialize in medically complex clients, even though we're non-medical. Most of our clients are very high acuity, meaning they have a lot of medical issues going on. And our success with that has simply been really drilling down to what the core issue is and trying to help the families navigate the healthcare system, do that care coordination, make sure they see who they're going to see. So the people that we've chosen to be a part of our company, they so beautifully fit in the culture of our organization.
Well, that's very good. Well, a lot of it I've got to contribute to you, surely, or attribute to you, I should say. Probably your training, what you wanted in the beginning. Do you sit down a lot and have meetings, sit around and talk things out? And
we do. We have a meeting every Monday, and we have a meeting every Friday. We have a new marketing and sales director.
Male or female, as a matter of interest?
Her name's Kathy Dwyer. She's been in
female.
the community for a long time,
Right.
in healthcare, and
She's been in healthcare?
and truly, our core feeling about marketing and sales is just maintain those relationships, build new relationships. I don't want anybody selling to anything. Just maintain the relationships so that they know how we can help.
Well, I'm speaking with Cindy Sheller on Tucson Means Business. She's the CEO, owner, and chief cook and bottle washer of Caring Senior Service, dealing with COVID-19. I mean, how has your business survived as we've been navigating COVID-19 months and months now?
You know, truly, we're fortunate to be in this industry. I have a lot of friends who've had to either drastically scale back their businesses or actually close their businesses. Mm-hmm. So we've been blessed by, just being in the healthcare industry. And regardless of whether we're having a pandemic or what's going on in the world, people still need help. And that's why we're still relevant and will always be relevant. And all of us baby boomers,
Well, yeah. Listen, what are you doing as a home care agency to slow the spread of COVID-19?
We're very, very diligent about using our personal protective equipment. We encourage everybody to sterilize.
Right. And sanitize.
And sanitize. And we also encourage our field staff, look, don't go to those big gatherings. Don't participate in those parties. If we find out that you've been to a big event, you're not going to be at your shift the next day. And it sounds really harsh, but, look at Oklahoma. ICU beds are full. Just today's news is a little alarming. So we try to encourage them every week, just pay attention.
Look, I normally don't do this, but I don't want to touch on politics because we don't do that on the network. We don't do politics, religion, or sport because a lot of media leans left or right, Don. We lean business. But we were talking before we came on air, and Sydney just brought up something. And there's a lot of talk goes on out there. You don't know what to believe sometimes to a degree. I've heard stuff like you're going to hear more and more and more people who got COVID-19 because every hospital gets $30,000 every time it's registered that it was a COVID case and not something else. Now listen to what Don told me before that he happens to know about. What was that shark thing you told me?
Well, again, I'm going to share this with my tinfoil hat-wearing compatriots. But, throughout the country, you hear these examples of just crazy COVID diagnosis. Now, again, this is what, now you got to attribute a certain amount of leniency to the fact that it comes from the Internet.
Totally.
Right, but there was evidence that there was a gentleman who was unfortunately killed by a great white shark in California that his cause of death was COVID-19.
Oh, goodness.
Now, and yet look at all the genuine cases of the very sick people.
Absolutely. And I think that the part now, which is the business part, to bring us back to the focus, there are enormously successful companies that have become enormously successful specifically because of COVID-19. You look at Grubhub and Uber Eats and DoorDash. Those all existed for 4 or 5 years. The fact that Amazon is the largest of its kind on the face of the earth, they've truly benefited from COVID-19.
Oh, yeah.
So there are sections of the marketplace which have become incredibly resilient and have really benefited from it. We call them, if you think of, the sections of the marketplace that are really thriving in lieu of this, scenario. So, you talk about, the all the money putting into vaccines and the money that's now going into the research and pharmaceuticals and, right down to the toilet paper and paper towels. Realize that when those get sold out, the cash register rings at the companies that are manufacturing these things. So
and with the PPE, I mean, truly, it was not in our budget this year to spend the amount of money we have spent on masks and gloves.
But there's something that really, really irks me right now. What would I know? Although I've lived here for 8 years now, this particular stretch in Tucson, I'm from another country. What right do I have to say anything about what could have been done or not been done or anything else? You've been here all your life. You've seen it all, both of you. Why wasn't there a warehouse full of PPE equipment for a major outbreak like this done? And I don't care if it's bloody Obama, Bush, whoever the heck it was.
That's the $1 million question,
didn't
Mark.
they think of that?
That's the $1 million question.
That would be the first thing I'd be wanting to be doing as the president, making sure my health is right for my citizens.
Being a capitalist, as I clearly am, I think the issue, I believe in everything in the world, if you drill down far enough, it has to do with money. Right, it's the same reason why if I went in your house, you're not going to have 1 gallon of water.
There was tons of money, Don. Tons of money in the Bush administration. Tons of money in Obama. It's all there.
But I will always believe if you drill down far enough, it's the money. Who wants to keep it? Who wants to spend it? Whatever. But there is a session that I actually do. It's called Profiting from the Calamity, and it talks specifically about how niche markets like the one that you're in really, I don't want to say benefit from a bad situation, but are somewhat immune to it, right? You hit the nail on the head. There is going to be people that are going to need care, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of who's in office, regardless of anything. And I'm encouraging my clients that understand that profiting from the calamity mindset is to say, you're going to have a different delivery method maybe than you have right now, right? You're going to have to change. You might have to work twice as hard as you did before to get the same results that you were getting. Now, you can either sit by the side of the road and wait to die, right? Or you can, pick up your shovel and start going.
And I would say, too, that we're all sick of this word, but we truly have had to pivot because I can't get into hospitals to see my case managers. So we do more email blasts. We do more Zoom meetings, like Zoom to nauseam.
I know everybody I'm speaking to is absolutely had it up to here, top of the head business. And in fact, my business here got hurt very hard from March on. But I sanitized the studio profusely. There's only 2 of you in here today. I used to have up to 4. Right. But I worked from home the last, 6 months? Like everybody else. And the reality is, my business isn't about being on down Zoom. Right.
But I will tell you, Mark, and I'm going to go backwards a little bit. I believe that you're right. There has been some politicization about COVID. There's been stories like the shark. However, the people that have gotten sick from COVID, that have other comorbidities, meaning they have a lot of medical issues going on, they get very, very sick.
Yeah, they're the ones that hits the most, right?
Our seniors and our disabled population and those with compromised immune systems need to be careful. They need to wear a mask. So whether you believe that COVID's a hoax or not, all you have to do is spend an hour in the ER with the doctor that has been working 48 hours.
I don't believe it's a hoax. No, I do not. I definitely believe it's real. There's no doubt about it. I just think that one, I'm upset that it was never prepared for in the richest country in the world, the greatest thinkers in the world, thought leadership. I mean, America's the world's police. And everything else is expected of us. And yet, it comes to something like this, and there was nothing to be prepared for.
It was sheer panic. I couldn't get protective equipment for my staff. And I went to a local medical equipment provider, and he said, Cindy, I'm really sorry. We only sell to hospitals and doctors. And I threw a little hissy. And then I went home, and my husband said, shame on you. That wasn't very nice because, he's just trying to protect his clients. So I thought, well, he's under stress too. I felt really bad. So I went and bought him a bottle of 15-year Macallan and took it to him and apologized and chocolate for his staff. And he's been supplying my PPE ever since. Not because I brought him scotch, but because I recognized that, I was in the wrong. Like, I shouldn't have put him in that position.
No, fair enough.
And now, Caring as a whole, we have supplies nationwide. But when this first broke, you're right. The chain was broken. It was really difficult. And everybody was scrambling.
Well, this is what concerns me, though, because your industry, right? Your industry, the non-medical industry and what you do, it's not regulated too well in Tucson, is it?
In Arizona, it's not regulated
in
at all.
In Arizona, never mind Tucson.
Now, I know that
you go over backwards. You bend over backwards to do the right thing. What about those that aren't? And then something like this comes along, Don. That's a worry.
We background check our caregivers every 6 months, and our whole team. They have to have CPR. They have to have TB tests. None of that is required. But in my view, I take our business very personally, and I want our clients protected. We tried to get a law passed, and it didn't go through. There is a consumer protection thing that basically says, I'm the owner, here's the contract, whatever. So regulation brings really great things, and it brings really, as a business owner, invasive things, right? So it's great in that everybody has to follow a certain line, and there's certain organizations that you can join. I, in my past, always worked for accredited organizations and licensed organizations. So when I became an entrepreneur, I just followed that model,
right,
whether I needed to or not. So I personally believe our industry should be regulated, although I have other owners that
No, I would think so too.
I feel sorry for when they go through audits.
I would think so too.
Yeah.
What's this new health and wellness program that you're doing now? Can you share a little bit about that with us?
So not everybody needs 8 hours, 24/7 care. Some people just need to be looked in on, especially with COVID. So we have developed a program. There's 3 different tier levels. We basically have a wellness coach that will call in to these clients, check up on them, ask them questions to see if they're taking their medication. We can even remind them, do phone calls to remind them to take their medication. And if they need one-to-one care, we can throw that in the bundle as well. But it's a touch point for seniors and disabled and really anybody who needs that touch. Like if you don't have any family and you're 91 and living alone, but perfectly functional and still driving. This is a real client. Always refused care, but now is on the health and wellness program. So we're talking to her every single week. Yeah, and it's affordable. The pricing is very affordable to do that.
Just before I go to Don, I want to ask you this. What's been your greatest challenge then in growing your business during all this, stay-at-home orders during this time?
Marketing. I mean, truly sales and marketing, because everything's shut down. There's closed campuses. And so, again, it goes back to those relationships. Still, our business, a huge portion of it is word of mouth. So because we've cared for your mom, you've told others about us. So having that face-to-face with discharge planners, case managers, that's been more difficult. It's opened up a bit right now, but I have a feeling it's going to shrink back up again. So it's having to do those videos, having to be progressive. Okay, what else can we do?
Lots of things. Well, you're going to have to head online and a few other things and get it out there. There's no doubt
just
about
how
it.
can we help? Call us.
Don, how is the virus pandemic affecting your business? I mean, are you advising your clients, about the next 12 to 24 months or...
Well, we are. We certainly, like everyone else, wish we had a crystal ball that we could explain. I think that sales in general will change as it is, because you're taking out the component of face-to-face. Professional selling has always been a face-to-face, eye-to-eye business. I don't think that's changed, and I really believe that that's something that everyone misses. Now, I do believe, because of the struggles that are going on now, whether it be political or otherwise, that once these get resolved, I think you'll surprisingly see how things kind of go back to normal very quickly. I think that there are, again, not to put on my tinfoil hat, but I think that there are things that are happening which are skewing things maybe that ultimately we're going to see. But here's what I suggest for my clients. Number one, you're going to have to work twice as hard as you did before, potentially to make the same amount you did. That's number one. So if you made 20 prospecting calls, now you're going to have to make 40. I'm also telling them that prepare to double whatever you did in terms of the support of your business. So if you were advertising on radio and you were spending $1,000, you should be spending $2,000. Now, they don't want to hear that, but, again, I'm not going to blow smoke at them. Just because they don't like to hear it doesn't mean it's not the difference. In our world, however, what we're finding is that it goes back to professional selling 101. And a lot of the imposters, and I don't say that with any venom, but when you're in a positive economic market, there's the idea that the rising tide raises all ships. So even weak salespeople in marginal companies have been able to be successful in that rising tide when you had a strong economy. Now that it's not quite as strong, a lot of the, for lack of a better word, again with no venom, imposters are finding that, these salespeople aren't doing very well, and these, questionable companies aren't doing very well. And I find that good quality companies, like, as we're talking about here, will weather the storm no matter what. But you have to be prepared. The second thing is that I want you to do twice as much of what you're doing, but I want you to go start doing all the stuff that you weren't. Podcast is a great example. I'll throw a shameless pitch for you. The people that aren't doing podcasting should. My daughter's 31 years old. She never listens to the radio, ever.
Well, of course, this is very different. You've got 135 million Americans now listening every month to podcasting because they can listen when they want.
Oh, absolutely, sure. I mean, we bought her a car.
I've been telling Cindy that for 2 years.
He has.
So I'm telling people, you're going to have to. There's no solution to your problem that's going to be free. If you're looking for a solution for your problem, it's going to be free. It's not going to happen. You look at all the millions of people that now, quadruple their Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. Well, the problem being is that now the entire universe has jumped into the same pool, and now you're even more diluted than you were. Go someplace where, it's the blue ocean, theory. If you've ever read the book, the blue ocean idea. So the red ocean is the bloody ocean. That's where everybody's in there fighting it out. The blue ocean is the place where there's nobody at, and you want to find that. You want to be creative.
Finding the blue ocean.
Yeah.
You've created a brand new website, DONZAVIS.com.
It is, yeah. Live tweets.
Brand new. What led you to develop a new site during this year? Well, you're preaching to the preacher yourself.
Well,
you're doing what you said you had to do.
Well, and that's the thing. It's interesting because we've quadrupled our advertising budget across the board. So everything we do, we're doing more of. Now, fortunately, we have always had a pretty strong war chest in anticipation of doing this. And against the grain, our main office is in Michigan, where I used to live. We have an office here in Oro Valley, and just in January, we opened an office in San Diego. So when you were talking about expanding, I'm absolutely encouraging my clients to expand. Go buy a car, buy a house. I mean, the values that I believe are in the marketplace now are happening not because these retailers want them to happen, but they have no choice. Right now, they have to make things that are happening. So there's wonderful opportunities, whether it's the podcasting world, radio, television, direct mail. I think direct mail is a wonderful place to go, and we're having a lot of great experiences from. In fact, interesting, Cindy, it's hard for me not to be a sales trainer. So let me give you sales training.
Well, that's interesting because, I throw a lot of junk out. I mean, it still works to a certain degree, certain types of direct mail. But let's face it, people are scared stiff to touch things unless they wear gloves to go out and get the mail.
Sure. I think you're going to have that suspicion. But I think what you're finding is in the direct mail world, if you go back 20 years. Like, you remember the movie You Got Mail with Tom Hanks?
Oh, it's my wife's favorite. I love it too. Yeah.
Well, at the time, that little voice that came on and said, "You got mail," that was actually the voice that came out. It said, "You got mail."
Right.
For those who remember that long ago. And at that time, you'd get 5 emails a day, but you'd get a stack of mail that's a foot tall. Well, now you're getting, 300 emails a day, and you're getting a stack of mail 2 inches tall.
Yeah.
So it is standing out a little bit more.
You know what's next, don't you? Those darn text things all the time. That's the next most popular. Next year, you're going to see more prolific of that.
And unfortunately, a lot of, again, when people who are short-sighted, I believe, and this is no criticism, this is observation, the people that are short-sighted are willing, most people won't invest in themselves because they know what a poor investment it is. And I know that sounds shameful when you think about it, but, they're not going to invest in their education. We have the 3 investments that we talk about in our training. The first investment is health and wellness. You are the engine of your business. You're either going to run like a Ferrari or you're going to run like a minivan. You get to choose. The second investment is skills that will increase your income, right? Understanding podcasting, understanding the new digital world, because if you don't exist in the digital world, you don't exist. And the third is your appearance, how the world sees you. It's how you look physically, but it's also how your company looks. A quality website, quality handouts, descriptive business cards, all the peripherals, which is what the world sees. And all too many times they make a decision. I mean, when people see me, I look like what a sales trainer should look like. I have honed this personality, right, over the last 15 years. I could be wearing a ratty T-shirt and some cut-off shorts, and I'm still the same person. But that's not what people think a sales trainer should look like.
Yeah, you wonder. Until I saw the first picture of you, I was a bit shocked to see longer hair than normal.
Yes.
Right.
Well,
but you were still nicely attired and suited and
He's
had a
not
tie
giving
on.
that up, Mark. He's not giving that up.
Well, that's not true. I actually did in November of 2017.
Be yourself. Who cares?
Yeah,
Look what I'm doing. It took me years to get this going, man. I've always wanted a ponytail.
But it was. I'll show you what a capitalist I am. In November of 2017, I had a client come to me for a training thing that we were doing in Europe, and he said, "You know what? We want to hire you. My boss is never going to hire you. He says you look like a girl." I said, "You wave a big enough check at me, and I will cut my hair immediately."
What size skirt do you wear?
And they did. And all the photos that you see in all my peripheries, right? All the headshots, that's the 2017 short.
Don Zavis, ladies and gentlemen. I got some short time left, so I want to make sure I get a little bit more in with Cindy. I needed to ask her. But listen, go to Don's website. If you're listening and you're a company and you think, gee, maybe this guy could help me, I believe he could. www.donzavis, DONZ. We'd say Z in Australia, or the Brits would too as well, but it's Z, so it's Don Zavis, ZAVIS.com. And there's phone numbers and all of that, and I'm going to put that on the site, on Tucson Business Radio X. It's no good giving them all out to you now. You're probably driving or doing something else. You wouldn't be able to write them down anyway. So go to the site and figure it out. But Cindy, in the short time I've got left, I want to ask you, there were a couple of things that were concerning me. You've expanded. I've interviewed Tucson office memory care. You're doing that. It is your career with passion. Your reputation's enormous. Now, you do other stuff. I wanted to touch on your other interests. I mean, you still got time to have other interests?
Well, you know what? I don't know if I told you this, Mark, but I have chickens and a rooster now.
Oh, my God. On top of, listen to this, folks. She's got Vice President of Events for Norbo in Tucson, and a member of Insights on Aging, and a panel on healthcare professionals dedicated to providing education for our community on the continuum of care for those facing aging. God love you. What's Norbo all about then?
NABO is a National Association of Business Owners, and I actually stepped down from a vice president of events because my business was growing so much. I have to learn how to say no. That's my new thing for the next 6 months. So it's a wonderful organization of women business owners, and it gives you access to training and resources and all kinds of great stuff that we do. And so some of the other organizations I'm involved with are help with fundraising for charitable organizations. Brianna Henderson opened Harmony House, which is a home specifically for COVID positive patients. It's free if you're 65 and older.
Harmony House. Where's that? Where is it located?
It's way out on East Speedway. We donated funds for their meal program.
Oh, lovely. Good.
So it's, I love that the more you make, the more you can give away. That's one of my passions as well. Absolutely. And so we were able to give to them. But so we have chickens. We now have a desert tortoise and 2 baby desert tortoises.
God, love it. Listen, when I last interviewed you, I mean, the things changed. The Tucson office still provided staffing services to assisted living.
Yeah.
Memory care, skilled nursing facilities, and what about hospitals in southern Arizona?
No, we kind of moved away from...
You'd be spread thin, wouldn't you? I mean...
We've kind of moved away from staffing, to be honest with you. I mean, the field staff have... everybody's vying for the same people. So it's really difficult to get people to go work in facilities right now because they don't want to get sick.
Right.
So they want that one-to-one experience with clients.
There is a shortage, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I could.
I tell you what, it's pretty scary.
It is.
You read the stories and hear about. I mean, what do you do without the people, the nurses, the support? I mean, Don, we'd be in a real pickle, quite frankly.
But you know what? You guys, the sun's going to come out. The sun is going to come out.
Absolutely.
And people are going to get on their feet, and business owners are going to figure out how to turn and how to pivot. And
we're survivors, human race.
We are. We just have to support each other.
Now, for somebody listening now, though, Cindy, do you have any programs that would help seniors at home that don't necessarily? We covered that just very briefly again. People can call you, contact you. What is the process to admit new clients to your home care services?
Just give us a call. We'll schedule an in-home meeting to make sure we're the right fit for you. We'll
and who goes to
your
those?
Story. Tony Coleman Miller, our agency director.
Okay.
She's amazing. Sometimes I go.
All right. So, and we're talking about caring healthcare. That's the name of the company.
Caring Senior Service.
Caring Senior Service. Easy to find, right? What's the website again?
Oh, yeah. It's caringseniorservice.com/Tucson.
/Tucson, all right.
Yes,
Ooh, /Tucson. Okay. I see where it's going. But look, that's easy. Talk to them. They're very, very friendly. And then they do this. What's it called? A discovery call? Or when this lady goes out to...
It's an intake. It's a home care admission. So we go and we ask about medical history. We ask about, what did you used to do? We try to get an idea of their personality so that we can kind of match the caregiver with that person. So if they hate people that talk a lot, we're not going to send them Chatty Cathy or they'll throw them out on their nose.
Nuts, yeah.
Right? So we find about all of that. We find out if they have animals. We find out all this great stuff. And then we go back. We make a care plan. We make a schedule. And we dive right in. And
amazing.
Now we're just trying to figure out different activities to do at home because getting out is harder and harder.
You got to get creative.
So we have one client that we go on drives and get coffee and anything to get him out of the house because otherwise he's not happy.
Do you play chess?
I don't play chess. My 12-year-old plays chess.
Good movie on Netflix.
I started watching that Queen's Gambit.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's very good. Cindy Sheller, as usual, a wonderful pleasure to see you and have you to be interviewed again. It's always a delight. Thank you for the good work that you're doing in Tucson and all the wonderful people you care about and love.
Thank you, Mark. It's always so much fun to be with you.
And Don Zavis, wow, President, Chief Training Officer of Don Zavis Sales Training, 248-497-586. See, what a waste of time that was. But you're in Oro Valley, East Innovation Park, easy to find.
Yep.
And the new site is?
San Diego.
The new website?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, www.donzavis.com.
And he'll do something for your company that maybe you can't. Hope you enjoyed the show. Another Tucson Means Business, proudly brought to us by the 49ers. This is Mark Bishop signing off. I look forward to your company again.